Hey guys, one of the guys in the group asked me to check out DOT. So I was just looking at it. He actually got in at a really good time. I like it a lot right now, but it's already broken up like right on the 55 EMA on the hourly. That was an incredible entry. So good job to you, dude. I missed that entry, obviously, but I'm looking for the next one. I think DOT is primed for a solid move. It's going to be one of the bigger movers. What I'm waiting for here, if you look at the 4 hour, some of the stochastic oscillators on the alts are getting to those lower levels. So that's going to be a solid reversal. Problem is we have to wait for the majors to get there too. They're all close, but none of them are confirmed yet. BTC could be bouncing. We just don't have confirmation. There's no way to know. Now, in the case of Bitcoin, I got into a short-term play here in case we get the reversal. So it's a decent-sized position, but I only have my stop loss is only 2% below my entry. So I really can't take a very big loss if it doesn't go well. If it does go well, I'll make a nice profit, but I'm not going to get into like tons of trades yet. I'm going to wait a little bit longer. Because I don't want to, overexpose myself. If I get into 10, 12 trades and I lose 2-3% on each one, I'm taking a big loss. So obviously I don't want to do that. Plus earlier today, or was it last night, I got into 4 or 5 short-term trades that I got stopped out of. So that adds up to a decent loss. So I'm trying to be careful here. Now my longer-term trades I got into last night and even before that recently are all fine. I have no issue. All my longer-term trades are looking spectacular. Especially when I got in closer to the bottom. But CHZ, for instance, really, really, really nice move. Short-term play, didn't hold, obviously. Long-term bag, solid breakout. So hopefully anybody in the group who got in with me. Now, I had gotten in, as I always do. I'll buy in. I'll set a tight stop loss for any short-term trades. And then I won't set a stop loss, or I'll set a much lower stop loss for a longer-term trade. And in this case, I'm hoping that some people didn't catch the live stream and maybe they got in a little bit later, because if you bought in later than me, my model held up really well, because you can see the 55 and the 99 were the main supports. I just couldn't when I got in, I couldn't put my stop loss 6% below all that stuff, right? Because then I would have been taking on way too much risk for a short-term trade unless I put in less capital, and I had a good amount in there in the short-term stuff. So I had to keep my stop loss relatively under control. So my short-term trade got stopped out, but again, my long-term is good. And that's why, again, I've been saying this a lot recently, the way the market's been, I'm still able to predict the overall reversals with pretty absurd level of accuracy. What gets tough is I haven't been as accurate lately with my short-term surgical entries. Like when I buy in right before a big breakout, what's been happening lately is I'll enter in and then there'll be a quick wick down and it'll hit my stop loss and then it'll go up, which is why every time I've been getting into trades lately, I've been throwing that warning out there to the guys in the group like, hey, we could totally have one quick little dip down. I think overall we're going to reverse and go up, but we might have a quick wick down, and that's where it gets really concerning when you're getting into short-term trades with a tight stop loss and then you're getting your stop loss hit right before it breaks out. It always sucks when that happens. Like in CHZ's case, I wish my stop loss didn't get hit on the short-term trade, but I'm making money on my longer-term, my mid and long-term hold, right? So it's not the end of the world because I'm playing both strategies. That's why diversification of strategy is just as important as diversification of your assets. You want to diversify across different asset classes, different categories. You also want to explore different styles and strategies of trading. You want to get into some long-term and some short-term trades, some investments, maybe some scalping. You want to spread it out a bit, and that's why it's beneficial to do that. When I enter a trade, I almost always add on to my long-term bag if I have one already, and that way I can get into a short-term play, and in case it doesn't work out, I still do well because my long-term bag does exceptionally well, because overall, the general trend since the 30K bottom has been very, very bullish. As I've been saying over and over again, since we hit that bottom, I've been calling at the bottom, and so far it's held. We had a couple touches to 31, but overall, it's been exceptional so far. So again, anything mid and long term when I'm entering in with a much lower stop loss or with no stop loss, all that stuff's going well. But I was still pissed that I had taken a loss from my trades last night on the short-term trades, even though I didn't put a ton of money into it due to the risk I just explained. I still took a loss. So now I'm being careful. I don't want to get in too much, but I think we have an imminent reversal. The fact that some of the alts are starting to pump, and look aggressively bullish is a good sign. We have this final little push down. We're going to see a reversal soon. Now, BTC has decoupled to an extent of late, where recently we've seen substantial moves market-wide. Whether BTC is down or up, the market might do its own thing. So we've seen a little bit of a decoupling in that respect. But I think overall, we're generally able to expect them to behave consistently. Now, if you're looking at that line I have here on the RSI, that's from the bearish divergence, where I even said, it looks like we might come down. Now, we haven't had like a big dump. It's actually been a relatively slow sideways correction, which is usually a very bullish sign. When you're expecting a bearish reversal because you have an uptrend like this with higher highs and you're getting lower highs on the RSI, that creates bearish divergence, and that usually indicates you're going to see a turn down. So we did in this case, except what we're noticing is BTC is actually holding relatively well. It's staying within reason, pretty close to the current price without going down very much. And mostly you're seeing a sideways correction where you're still correcting. All the oscillators are coming back down and resetting, but you're seeing price action move sideways as opposed to dumping down and retracing a lot. And when that happens, it's almost always a bullish sign. What that's telling you is, hey, the market should be going down right now, but something's managing to keep it. It's not pushing it up. It's not pumping. It's not hyper bullish. Because when you should be going down and the indicators are telling you, hey, we're going to go down, and then you just keep going up nonstop, that's hyper bullish or post technical. When the technicals don't matter, no matter how bearish they are, you just keep pumping. Right now, we're in that medium space where it's not quite hyper bullish. Instead, what we have is a scenario where it's just managing to hold and stay at that level, or at least close to it, and we're getting a very mild correction. So it's still a bullish indication, just not as bullish as when you're hyper bullish, obviously. What this does do is it gives you a bit of a forecast that you might see some hyper bullishness. We might see an aggressively bullish move coming out of here. So that's why I'm starting to ease my way in with this Bitcoin position. And then other than that, I'm going to wait on the rest. The fact that the 4-hour and the hourly models are both clearly reset, it does look very good, and it does indicate we could potentially be seeing a reversal here. But until we get a confirmation of that reversal, it's really hard to say. The daily is getting close to reverse. I bet KSM here is probably going to push out of the cloud, and then she'll be wide open to make a big move. But once the daily, the 4-hour, and the hourly are all lined up, man, that's going to be an exceptional entry. I was thinking of getting into KSM here, plus we also, in addition to the other things on the chart we talked about in last night's live stream, have a great horizontal support right here. So this is one that I was just looking at, but there are a bunch of assets that look equally as bullish. I just happened to have been looking at KSM and DOT right when I started this. So I think this might be one that I'll jump into. That's a really good support right there, and it's holding incredibly well. Problem is, again, with a short-term trade, we could see a little dip before a breakout. So in this case, since I don't already have a long-term KSM position, I'm going to open one up. I'm going to get in here. I'm not worrying about a target just yet. And then for... This is actually great because this is a really good horizontal support. We have a reset on the hourly Stoch. The 4-hour Stoch's getting real low. We're in that oversold range. Now, we don't have any of each of my dynamic supports here. I'm not a big fan of that. I'd be a lot more comfortable if we did. I also don't like that the 15-minute Stoch is so high. But I don't think it's catastrophic. It's not going to prevent us from making any sort of bullish move. It just might not be as attractive as I would like it to look right now, but I'm still going to get in. I'm going to put in a smaller amount of money in a short-term trade, put my stop loss about 2.5% below my entry, and then I'm going to get into, I'm going to buy a second little bag, and I'll keep that separate, and that's going to be my midterm hold, pretty much. And for that one, I'm not going to set a stop loss, but I'm going to actively track what's going on. If the market starts taking a big tumble, and we break this support here, and we see BTC make a big move down, I can always liquidate the trade. I'm going to leave it on the exchange. I'm not moving it to cold storage like it's a long-term investment or anything. It's staying on the exchange. I'll be able to quickly sell it. So I'm going to grab some midterm hold KSM and a short-term trade here in KSM with a tight stop loss, about 2.5% below my entry, and I'll call it a day for now. just the KSM trade, the BTC trade. I'm probably going to enter a couple more alts. I just want to give it a little bit more time. I'm going to give the kids a bath, and by the time I get them in bed, hopefully things have settled down a bit, and at that point, the lower time frames, like the 15-minute, might have come back down on the oscillators, and will be perfectly primed to break up. I think it's very, very close. It could be imminent. It could also be, a couple candles away, so I don't want to get overzealous and jump in too much. For now, I'm sticking with the couple trades I'm in, and I'm going to share this video publicly, but if you're in the private trading group, you'll know of what my other trades are. People on YouTube obviously will not, because they don't get all my trades. So I will do an update for people on YouTube later on, but if you're in the group, obviously I'll let you know as soon as I decide to enter other trades in the next hour or two. Okay, stay tuned. I'll do another update later, and hopefully we'll see some action by then. Trade safe, trade smart.